Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Theater Near You. My name is Chris Randazzo, and I'm joined this evening, as always, by the inexplicably explosive corpse, Paul Giroux.
It's a jungle out there.
I'm sorry. And numerous racial slurs, Sean Doyle.
Look at my stomach! I am the king!
This month's letter was K, and we wound up watching Sean's pick, King Solomon's Mines. Is it as good as Indiana Jones? Let's find out. But first, how are you gentlemen doing?
Living the dream over here. Or lifing it anyway.
Yeah, I'm good. I've been running all day. I've been going hard. Things are crazy at work, and then I came home and had to go to my son's school concert. So I just watched 50 fourth and fifth graders sing a song from Hamilton, which was an experience.
That sounds lovely. Which song?
The one that the My Shot.
Oh, that one. Gotcha. No, I know them all because my wife is obsessed with Hamilton and has played the soundtrack top to bottom many, 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 many times in my presence.
Yeah, they skipped the part about being a orphan son of a whore or whatever. But they did a lot of the inspirational I'm not giving away my shot stuff. So it's a good time.
All right. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I'm still recovering from COVID, kind of. I got hit by COVID since the last time we recorded, which was a really fun experience for all parties involved. Everybody in the house got it. And I'm pretty much back to normal now, except I'm still coughing, which I hate. But, it comes and goes. I haven't really been coughing much today, and then we get ready to go on the show, and I start coughing like crazy. Go figure.
It's so unprofessional.
It's funny you say that. We, even though me and my co-host Dan both got COVID, we didn't miss a week of Stone Age Gamer, but we did get an angry email from an anonymous listener complaining about how much we were coughing on the show. He's like, I get it, you got COVID, but coughing's gross. Use your mute buttons. So yeah, that was a good time. I like being called unprofessional.
I have a mute button.
See, I have a mute button for this conversation, but not on my recording device. So
it's on my wire. So I guess I could just mute for everything, I guess.
Yeah, you could if you wanted to.
Maybe I made that joke because I was the anonymous listener.
Oh. First off, I'm flattered you listen to my show.
I don't. Maybe if you talked about crime and murder and stuff like that, I'd listen to it, but that's the only stuff I listen to. I'm a weirdo.
We don't even talk about crime and murder video games all that much.
Well, maybe you should.
It just talks about baseball a lot.
Maybe you should, and I'd be a listener.
I Greg Coyle is a listener of my show.
The famous, where was I going with that? That makes me think he listens to this show, and he had mentioned about I think he didn't listen to the one episode. It was Paul's pick. What was it? Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh, right.
Because he couldn't find the movie. So it occurred to me, and I'm going to say it now, as a service to our fans, our teams and hordes of fans, starting next episode, we should all be prepared to tell everyone where they can watch our movie.
Okay.
That certainly would have benefited me this time. As
right.
Because I don't think it would have, because the answer was nowhere.
No. You sent me that link to watch it nefariously, and I brought it up on my laptop, and I was like, Jacqueline, we're going to watch it on my laptop. And she was like, we already figured out it's on the Roku channel, didn't we? And I was like, is it? And I looked, yeah, it's on the Roku channel. It was free on Roku channel, so if you have a Roku TV or a Roku, one of those little sticks, it was free to watch. It's like, we don't have to watch on my laptop.
Well, I don't have that thing, and I have Apple TV, and what I had going on was actively trying very hard to thwart me from watching this movie.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Here's my update for, I don't know, how we all do it, right? This is my little bit that I'll throw in there. We took my mom to Broadway for a Christmas present. We got her little Prince tickets because that's her favorite childhood storybook thing, and it got delayed or whatever because of COVID. We finally went and saw it, and I'll say it was great. That's what I'll say. But at an intermission, me and my older sister turned to each other, and my sister goes, "Here are some thoughts." Number one, I don't like interpretive dance. The whole thing was just interpretive dance. That's the whole. It was the only words were like there was a narrator who, for some reason, kept walking onto the stage and narrating from the stage, which seemed extra unnecessary, with a super French voice. But everything else, nobody else said any words. There was no sets. It was just interpretive dance. So she goes, number one, I don't like interpretive dance. And my response to that was the last scene, there was like this guy, and he was like flailing around on the floor, and there was this big bottle of wine descending from the ceiling. And he was like, the narrator is saying his lines. He's like, woe is me. I am so depressed. I have to drink. I am so depressed. Something like that. And as he's saying this, some random guy who's not a part of the play, like up to that point, or really ever, just walks into the back, like the back of the stage, and he's wheeling out this giant gold ring, right? Which later on he like did a dance with or whatever, but he still was the character. But I'm watching this and I'm like, I hear this French voice, and there's just this guy flailing, I need a drink, I am so depressed. And this guy walks in, not looking at the audience, just kind of like, obtusely walking across with this giant gold ring. And I was like, this is the Frenchest thing I've ever seen, possibly that there could ever be. I was like, that's it. They Frenched it out. It's done. So yeah,
achieved maximum Frenchness.
But for what they were doing, like again, I started this by saying it was great. Like if you had any desire to go see this to begin with, they did a great job at what they were trying to do. Interpretive dance isn't for me either, really.
When you said The Little Prince, is that what you said? The kid story where it's like he's on a planet and he's got a rose, right? And
yep.
And then he goes to other different planets or something, or
yep.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So after I got out of college, the year after I got out of college, I interned at a theater in Providence, Rhode Island, and then between there and moving to Philly, I did summer stock in Maine for a year, and like we all had to be in the kids show, and that was, an adaptation of The Little Prince was what we did. I was the snake. It was probably my least favorite thing I ever did.
Thought you were going to tell me you were the guy going, woe is me, I've drank too much, I am depressed.
I said that regularly after the performances,
But even Paul knows you never go full Frenchman. I'm sure there's going to be something else to pick for the letter T, but I haven't seen Tropic Thunder in a long time.
Oh, I'm not sure how much that holds up.
I'm not either. Might be fascinating.
What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
Actually, one of my favorite parts of that movie that I still quote regularly is when I forget the comedian's name. It's like Jay Brickell or something like that. And when they're walking through the jungle, and he's talking about, is he talking about like Lord of the Rings or something? He's talking about some thing like from shot to shot they edit it, and he's been talking about it seems like he's been talking about it for like an hour, and then like Robert Downey Jr. turns to him and goes, "Have you been talking to me this whole time?"
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember that movie making me laugh a lot. Well, I tell you what didn't make me laugh a whole lot is we took the kids to go see the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie.
Ooh.
Which was just like the first one. It was fine. It was a kids movie. It had more video game references in it, which I thought was pretty cool. Jim Carrey was just being Jim Carrey.
When you say that, is that a positive? Because I've never seen these movies, the Sonic movies, and when I see the previews, I think to myself, well, it's clearly a kids movie, so but it doesn't look like it holds a lot for me. And then Jim Carrey gets on there, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe he's saving this, maybe it's truly enjoyable.
No. There's not enough of him to do that.
No.
Okay.
I mean, like he's in the movie, but he's still saying, he's playing Jim Carrey, which is entertaining enough, but it's not like Dumb and Dumber. Like there's still only so much he can do.
Right.
Like he's having a blast, and you can tell he's having a blast. But it's like, the first one had the typical problem. Like you think back to one of the worst, live action adaptations of kids movies. It's like, oh, here's what we'll do. What happens if they get sucked into our world? And so like that was our first movie, and it's all right, Sonic's here in our real world, and isn't that fun? And it's not at all. And Sonic flossed a bunch of times, which was dated even when that movie came out, and that was a thing. So there's more flossing in this. They repeat a lot of the same exact beats, but this time it's like there's a bunch more of the characters, like Tails is there and Knuckles is there, and it's like they're trying to do this kind of fun video gamey adventure stuff, but then they have to touch base with all the human characters from the first movie. And then every single time that happens, the movie just grinds to a halt because I couldn't possibly care less about any of these people. It's just awful.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like the natural thing to do in a sequel would be to bring in all the characters that you didn't have room for in the first one because you had to set things up that you want to then introduce Knuckles and Tails and stuff. But if it was a movie just about Sonic the Hedgehog, it'd be cool. But it has like all of his human buddies.
Yeah, and like the stuff that was like Sonic and Dr. Robotnik and Tails and stuff is pretty neat. It's pretty fun. There's like an inexplicable dance-off number that was really weird, and lots of pop culture references that are totally lost on kids and totally lame for adults. So it's like, why is this here? But at the same time, like you're an hour or so in the movie, and then you're spending this like 15-minute heartfelt scene between like the main human character's wife's sister and her fiance or something. And it's like, my kids could not have been more, and the whole theater, every single time it was about human characters that weren't Jim Carrey, every kid in the theater started talking. Like, just everyone got bored.
Wow.
It was remarkable. You just the noise level would just start picking up with every kid being like, I'm bored, I don't want to, and then Sonic and Knuckles would start fighting each other and be like, oh, okay, we're back in. So, that was neat. But we were talking about this just a second beforehand. There was a trailer for Top Gun before this, which still isn't out yet.
They've been. I feel like I saw previews for it years ago. And
right,
it was like 2020. Was that when it was supposed to come out?
I think it was supposed to come out the summer of 2020 because I remember looking at, looking at the list of movies. Who knows what I was looking at? Maybe it was like the Apple trailers or something because I go to that sometimes. But it was all like, here's the whole schedule of stuff coming out in 2020. And it was like Top Gun, Ghostbusters. I forget what some of the other ones were, but I was like, dude, is this like 1985 again? Like what happened?
All right, so it was originally scheduled for release on July 12th, 2019, but it was then postponed to quote, allow the production to work out all the complex flight sequences, and then COVID happened. So it's actually been delayed for 3 years.
I can't imagine it's going to be worth it. Like, I'll probably go see it on $5 Tuesday night because it's an action movie, and I like the first one. It's for what it is. It's a fine movie. Like, you can make fun of it or whatever, but it's fine. It's an enjoyable movie. The second one, my guess is, will not be good. That's my guess. So
I've never seen it.
What, the first one?
Top Gun?
Yeah, I've never seen the first one. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I guess we know what we're doing for tea. Like,
is that more important than watching Tropic Thunder again? I don't know.
It's not a bad movie. It's not Jaws. I'm not sitting here telling you it's the greatest movie ever made. No. But it's fine.
It's always been my impression that the movie was about volleyball, but
yeah. Oh, it drips with 1980. What year did it come out? Like 83, 84? It's like soaked in that
86.
Year.
I played a lot of the NES games.
They also fly planes.
Sure.
Huh.
Just so you know.
Is that like between bouts of volleyball or?
Hang on. Speaking of you not seeing Top Gun, but then you're also talking about all these other like parody movies that are your favorite thing, like Naked Gun and Airplane. So does that mean you haven't seen Top Gun, but you saw Hot Shots?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, Chris, you're a mess.
And I freaking loved Hot Shots. I think that just goes to show you don't actually need to see the source material. I understood that there was lots of volleyball and it was about planes and somebody yells, Maverick! No, I'm good.
Yeah, that's about it. You got it.
I got the gist of it. So the other trailer that we're actually genuinely interested in, there was a bunch of kids movies in front of it, obviously. All kids movies and Top Gun, which was very strange. But so they're doing a movie adaptation of The Bad Guys.
Yeah. I've seen this trailer a couple times. Nate's excited about it.
John loves these books. He's been reading these books for a couple of years now. He absolutely adores these books, and they're really good. They're super funny books. But it's wild because we keep seeing the trailer, and it's like, wow, that's really different from the book. And like John's still pretty into it, but we had this interesting conversation with him last night. Like, so what do you think you're gonna like better, the movie or the book? Because the movie looks pretty different. He's like, and he starts going through all these things in the trailer that are different from the book. He's like, I don't know. They save the cat in the tree, but in the books they each save it one at a time. And this one they're all trying to save it together. And like, he's going through like all these individual points from the trailers that are close to the book. Like Miss Tarantula is not in the book. There's a Mr. Tarantula that shows up in like book 3, but Miss Tarantula is not a character. And like Shark is usually a lot more quiet, and it's super fascinating how like he's breaking down all the characters. But like there's this one intrinsic difference. Like in the trailer, they're saying that the whole thing, them being a good guy, is a trick. And the whole premise of the first book is that Mr. Wolf is just like, we should be good guys because good guys are good. And like he tries to convince everybody else to be good guys genuinely, not in like some sort of trick so they can keep being bad guys. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch that movie with him, having him being like the expert on the source material and then like telling us what he thinks of the changes that they made.
Probably shouldn't bring this up because it will send us down a rabbit hole, and I hate doing this, but you know, I often don't look at trailers and think about the source material, you know, like I mean, I guess it's not that frequently that like there's a book or something that's coming out as a movie that I'm like, ooh, how will it be different? But I'm almost done with this Jason Aaron run of Thor. Yeah, and did you guys see the new trailer?
I did, yeah.
I did not see the new trailer.
I'm excited about it.
I do this thing where I avoid trailers as much as possible because at this point they just tell you the whole movie. It's really out of control.
This trailer does not.
No, it most certainly does not. Leaves me with a lot of questions, and I'm like not like I needed to be sold on it, but at the same time, like I just kind of wanted to see what's the general premise that they're going for here, and it's very interesting. And I know you asked us not to talk about Moon Knight, but this last episode did a lot of weird things too. I was like, okay, now I really don't know where this is going, and that is cool. So I'm very excited about all this.
You can't talk about Moon Knight because instead of watching Moon Knight last night, I watched the sequel to this stupid movie that we're supposed to talk about today.
I didn't watch Moon Knight yet either, but like last night's episode, so I'm with Paul.
Yeah, all right, cool. Well, brace yourselves. It's a wild ride. The only other thing before we jump into this one that I want to say, and this is totally nerdy, but it is very movie related, and it was super, I think it's just the super coolest thing. So a long time ago, I mean, I'm talking like this must have been 1986, I think. There was, in Japan, an animated Super Mario Brothers movie. It's only ever released in Japan, and it was only ever released in theaters, and I don't think it ever got a home video release even. Like, this thing is super obscure, rarely seen in any sort of condition outside of Japan. Some crazy people just finished this week remastering. They got their hands on an original film, they remastered the whole thing in 4K, and added English subtitles to it. And it is for free, available on YouTube. And there's like a couple of places where you can download the 4K movie. It is a fascinatingly weird movie about how like Mario and Luigi are like regular people, but like obviously very Japanese. Like there's lots of drinking tea, and Mario's playing a Famicom, and then Princess Peach comes out of the TV and Bowser comes out of the TV and they suck the Mario Brothers into the Mushroom Kingdom. It's super weird. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but it's a gorgeous remaster. It's unbelievably well done. Like, the movie looks really, really good.
Kris, if it does not have Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo in it, I don't want anything to do with it.
Absolute
I want
crap.
nothing to do with it.
What about Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells? Would they be good enough for you?
Yeah. Definitely.
Do the Mario, swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario.
So I can't wait to watch that. I asked John if he would watch a movie with subtitles, even if it was a Mario movie, and he said no.
I'm with your son. I can't do it. I can't watch subtitles. I'll take the worst dubbing in the whole world. I can't handle subtitles.
I wish somebody would dub this movie. It would be fascinating. Because, like, there's going to be a Mario movie before the end of this year. And we've seen nothing about it besides the weird-ass cast, which is, like, completely bananas. But, I don't know. Maybe some fans will make an English dub of this movie someday. Bowser sounds really weird.
Now, just to piss off Sean, all my picks are going to have subtitles.
Oh. There's this zombie movie on a train that I really want to watch. People keep telling me about, but it's subtitled only. And I'm like, I certainly can't watch a zombie movie subtitled because I read a little slow. So by the time I look down, read the sentence, I'm going to miss like the there's an action-y, there's stuff happening. Like, I'm going to miss it. I can't do it.
Usually when the stuff's happening, you don't need the words. Like, if the subtitle is just going to be like, and grunching noises and stuff.
Sean, in all seriousness, like, I'm actually not joking this time. Like, I watched that movie a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking of picking that when we get to that letter. Like, it was a really good movie. I know the exact movie you're talking about.
It's like Train to Bhutan or something?
Yeah, Train to Busan.
Busan, right, yeah.
It's another T movie, huh? T's going to be hotly contested.
Yeah, Omi told me to watch it, but all right, go ahead. What do we got?
There's another one that I want to watch, another subtitled movie that I want to watch that was called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. But I couldn't find it on any of the streaming stuff. And then I sort of kept looking for stuff, and I saw that Train to Busan, and I watched that, and it was awesome. But yeah, I don't know. Both of those were ones I wanted to check out.
All right, let's get to our feature presentation here. I like that. I should use that again. Not the clearing my throat, the feature presentation thing. All right, King Solomon's Mines was released on November 22nd, 1985, and was distributed by the Cannon Group. It was directed by J. Lee Thompson, whose other credits include both Conquest of and Battle for the Planet of the Apes, The Guns of Navarone, and Cape Fear. The movie stars Richard Chamberlain, Sharon Stone, Herbert Lom, and John Rhys Davies. It tells the story of Alan Quartermain and his quest to find treasure, reunite Sharon Stone with her lost father, and totally rip off Raiders of the Lost Ark as often as humanly possible. I watched this via nefarious means because we couldn't find it any other way. I watched it with Karen, and we both had ice cream sundaes. I
watched it on the Roku channel because we've already gone over that. Jacqueline figured that out for me. And then we had, I don't know what she had. I had a bunch of reheated ham that was left over from Easter dinner. And jelly beans. That's right. Reheated ham and jelly beans.
Did you eat the jelly beans too?
They're next to the ham. They probably got warm. Look, I usually try to pair things up with the movie. I made no attempt because we had the fridge was full of Easter leftovers. I was like, I got to eat some of this Easter leftovers. This is what has to get eaten.
Well, the movie was pretty hammy, so
yeah,
all right, there you go.
Sean, you think you don't have anything there, but you do. I think leftover ham and jelly beans is the perfect analogy for this movie.
You're so totally right.
Yeah. I gotta warn you guys, I'm gonna be a little bit of a mess with this tonight because I've watched so many versions of Alan Quartermain movies this week that I can't remember what happened in each one. And we're gonna be talking about this, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, when the big tarantula came out of her dress, and you guys will be like, what? That was not in the movie, Paul. And I'm gonna be like, oh, that was the other one. So here, this is my saga with this. I I tried to watch it on Sunday night.
At the same time that I was watching it.
Yeah, at the same time that you were watching it, because we were texting about it. I go looking for it. When with the Apple TV, you can rent things, although I couldn't find it to rent. But usually if an app has it, it will suggest that first. And sometimes it's an app that you have, and sometimes it's like, hey, download this thing, right? So it's like, hey, you could watch it if you download, and I don't even remember what this app was. It was some obscure thing. It was like Quibo, Quintess, I don't know, something with a Q. Quibbity Quab, something like that, right? So
good old Quibbity Quab.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, cool, get the Quibbity Quab app, right? So I download that, right?
Quibi, that's it, Quibi.
It wasn't Quibi, though, because I've heard of that. This was something else with a Q.
There's another... What?
Yeah, this was like some off-brand Q thing. So anyway, so then this...
It's the QAnon app.
That was my problem. I downloaded the QAnon app. That's why I couldn't find it. Yeah, it claimed to have both the Richard Chamberlain 1984, 85, whatever this was, movie, and then also a Patrick Swayze miniseries of King Solomon's Mine that was made in like 2004 or something, right? So I clearly clicked on the one that was the movie we were supposed to watch, and both were the Swayze thing. One just as a miniseries, and one with all the episodes jammed together to turn it into a movie, right?
One was admitting what it was, the other one was trying to pretend it was something else.
And I swear to God, when I read the description, like I swear when I read it the first time, it said like Patrick Swayze and Sharon Stone or something like that, and then I was like, oh, that's weird that she said both of them. And then I went and looked at it again, and it said something totally different, and I was like, this movie is fucking with me. Like, this weird Queequab app is like totally messing with me. So I watched 3/4 of the Swayze one. It was a snore fest. Like, it was duller than dirt. But I watched a good bit of that just to kind of know what it was. Then Kris gave me the Nefarious Means one, and I watched it on Monday night. And the snack that I had was peanut butter and celery. And then the next day, when I got home from work, Nate and Sherry were out somewhere, and I knew they were going to be out until 7. And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch the, like, 50s one, because I saw that it was, like, free on demand. Because I looked everywhere, like, I even looked on, like, the TV channels. And I was like, I couldn't find the 85 one, but I found the 1950 one. So then I watched that. And then last night I rented the sequel, which is called, of the one we were supposed to watch, which was called Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold. And that was an adventure. Oh, man. James Earl Jones is in it, and he swings a big fake axe that totally looks like a prop. Like, it was...
Because James Earl Jones saw the first one and was like, I got to get me a piece of that.
Yeah.
Sign me up for this particular... this franchise right here. I want in on this.
He was like,
floor.
Hold on, Bell Atlantic. I need to go over and do this Alan Quatermain movie.
Well, Star Wars had wrapped up, so he figured he had to go somewhere.
Yeah, I watched like 4 or 5 Alan Quatermain things, and I enjoyed none of them.
Before I forget, so as I was watching this with Jacqueline, she had a great one-liner. She was like, about halfway through, she goes, I get it. It's extra racist Indiana Jones for kids, right? It was like, yeah, that's it. You nailed it.
It's Indiana Jones, but he got his hat at Hot Topic.
Oh boy, yeah, I had some fun some fun notes on this one. Karen and I just every now and then we just have a look at each other, or like she's doing her cross stitching and I watch the movie, and then somebody will be like, camel jockey, and we're just like, oh, ow. You towel-headed creep. Oh, boy.
You guys think that's bad? Yeah, I'm sorry. I have you beat. In the sequel, all right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm skipping all over the place. I gotta tell you a little bit about the sequel. So the sequel, it has Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone in it. They're supposed to get married. So when the movie starts, they're planning their wedding. Their wedding and their honeymoon. They're going to go back to America to get married. Like Sharon Stone was part of this whole movie and like really seemed ill-placed in it. And I said to myself, like, why didn't Indiana Jones movies have this problem? And then I said to myself, oh, it's because he's with a different girl every time. Like they didn't have this problem because each one was a different love interest and a different adventure. But he basically they're gonna get married, and then he's like, no, these weird people came out of the jungle or something, and some friend of his was dying, and he found out that his friend and his brother went to go find this lost city of gold, and that they might be like hurt or injured or something. And then he's like, I have to go find my friends and my brother. And she's like, no, we're supposed to go get married, and he's like, no, I have to do this, right? So they pick up James Earl Jones along the way, like he's like their like African guide that like goes with them or something and protects them and carries this big axe that looks clearly fake. And then this Indian guy has to go along with them because he's the one that knows about the legend of the lost city. Like that's the one thing the dying guy says is this Indian guy's name, and he's like, find him. So the Indian guy is clearly played by a white guy who is like all dressed in white with like a white turban on his head, and he has smeared makeup all over his face and like dark bags under his eyes. And then he talks in that like stereotypical like Indian way where he's like, oh, and
it's like Fisher Stevens in Short Circuit.
Yeah, but like worse. And the other thing that was so awful about it was that everyone was so mean to him. Like he was kind of this like sleazy underhanded character. So they keep saying mean things about him and trying to sabotage him. So like it's a little bit the way that everybody talks about like C-3PO in Star Wars, but like 3PO is like a robot, so like you're not gonna hurt his feelings. Like this was like a dude, and like everybody to his face is like he's garbage. Like he's a garbage person. This movie was so bad, guys. And then like they get to the lost city and they find his brother, but like they find some of the corpses of like the friends along the way, and like Richard Chamberlain does nothing. Like he's not like he didn't go on his honeymoon to go on this journey to find his friends and his brother, and like they'll find a corpse of a friend and he'll be like, oh yeah, that's Bob. like it's not like a shame. Yeah,
I like that guy. He owed me $5.
Yeah, he's never like says a Hail Mary or like pours a 40 on the curb or anything like that. He's just like, oh yep, that was Bob. Like I was kind of like, is Richard Chamberlain like a good actor? Like, did he like take any acting classes before these movies? Like,
what else has he done?
I don't.
He was in Towering Inferno.
And Count of Monte Cristo in '75.
He's famous, right? Richard Chamberlain. That name just pops. The only I looked real quick. The only thing I knew was Towering Inferno.
Wow. He was in the straight-to-video Justice League Gods and Monsters. He was the High Father.
Okay.
He was in a couple episodes of Chuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who was he? He was Albert Desmet.
I do love Chuck.
Yeah, I love that show too.
Well, the first one, the King Solomon's Mine, was slightly more watchable than the second one, but not by much.
But you're saying the bad acting. I mean, bad acting abound in the first one, but I thought Sharon Stone's acting was like the worst. It was painful at times. And
she was pretty brutal.
And like she knows how to act. I've seen her in movies where she's a good actor, like not too far after this. I don't know what the big change was, or if she just, I don't know, maybe she was mad that her agent got her this job and was purposely acting bad. I don't know.
I mean, maybe she's like, I've heard the same thing about Natalie Portman, where it really depends on the director. Like, she could be great or she could be terrible, depends on the director.
So I had this same thought, and I actually looked it up on IMDb because I was kind of like, how could Sharon Stone be this bad? And to be clear, I think in a lot of ways she's very charismatic and sort of like pops on the screen, but like there was just a lot of awful acting and awful writing, which I do think was, you could also chalk up to the script and the director a little bit, but I looked it up because I was like, how is she this bad? And it did seem like this was one of her first gigs, like not really. It seemed like she'd done a lot of TV, but not a lot of movies at this point. So that was one thing. And the other thing that comes up, the first thing on the trivia, is it says that she was cast in this movie by accident. That they wanted to cast Kathleen Turner, who had just been in Romancing the Stone. Yeah, and they said, get me that Stone lady. And they cast Sharon Stone instead.
Wow. Yeah, she's no Karen Allen, that's for sure.
Her acting jumped out as being bad, although everybody's was, and then
except John Rhys Davies.
I was going to say
everything.
Yeah, except him. Like, even though his dialogue is terrible and what they have him doing half the time is stupid, like when there's a close up on his face and he's giving a line, it's like, no, that guy meant that shit.
Yeah,
like
he's amazing.
I'm momentarily frightened.
He makes a great villain, I have to say.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever really seen him in a villainous role that I can remember. I mean, like, he's sort of a villain in Gargoyles, but that was just voice acting. But even that he knocked out of the damn park.
But then he's so lovable in Indiana Jones.
Right? Sal's amazing. I can't believe he's in both of these movies. It's such different roles.
Well, listen, I really want to unpack this thing about this movie and Indiana Jones because, I mean, obviously you'd be foolish if you thought that they, that one wasn't competing with the other and that they weren't two studios trying to compete for the same turf, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this was clearly a response to the success of Raiders.
Well, actually, this one comes out a year after Temple. And I think whoever watched Temple, somebody was watching that and they said, what was great about this movie? And they said, Willie Scott. Let's double down on that aspect. And I think we'll really have something.
Well, I will say that I enjoyed Sharon Stone more than Kate Capshaw. Willie Scott is, in my opinion, one of the worst characters ever. I hate her so much.
I'm not going to disagree with
that
you.
Movie for me.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but it's a real low bar you're setting. It's like, all right, fine. Sharon Stone was better.
Yeah, all but right. You know what? If you hate Temple of Doom because of Willie Scott, just watch this movie and then go watch Temple of Doom, and you're gonna love it.
Yeah, Temple of Doom definitely comes out way ahead. I actually wrote down, this movie really makes Temple of Doom look downright culturally sensitive. Boy, oh boy.
Well,
so I did a little bit of a deep dive too. I didn't have the heart to sit and watch full length movies like Paul did. So I just watched a lot of little bits and then did like a little bit of research. So I saw I don't know if Paul, did you sit and watch? There was like a modern one, right? I'm getting off track here, but there was they tried to tell the same story, but set in today, like it might have been 2017 or whatever, but set in modern times,
No.
I didn't get far.
Are you talking about the librarian thing with Noah Wyle?
No, this was called. I think it was actually called Alan Quartermain. It might have been Lost City of Gold or
Temple of Todd.
right? But it was like a modern take on it, and it was like
the Temple of the Crystal Skulls, the Temple of Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Skull vodka.
Oh boy, there's something in development. Alan Quartermain and the Oriental Death Stone.
What?
That's definitely got to be super culturally sensitive. That one.
Starring who?
Just in the title, we're getting
it
there.
Doesn't say anything on IMDb other than this project is in development. That can't be true.
Oh, I was going to say, we were talking about how this bites on Indiana Jones. I came across this thing. Apparently, Indiana Jones was heavily influenced by the old Alan Quartermain stories.
Yeah.
So that was taken from Alan Quartermain, and Alan Quartermain showed up and took it back.
Well, I do.
So
kind of a swing and a miss there. Are we talking about Alan Quartermain and the Temple of Skulls from 2008?
What I was just talking about, I couldn't even tell you. Maybe
I didn't watch that one.
From the story that inspired Indiana Jones, I have no idea who stars in this. This looks fascinating.
Oh, I didn't recognize any of the actors in the one that I watched. I only watched like 15, 20 minutes. I was like, nope, had enough of this one.
Okay. Someone named Natalie Stone.
Listen. I have to try to get this out. It's a little bit of a mess. So bear with me for a second here. So, so I think part of my whole thing with watching all these other ones is I sort of had to understand what this thing was that I had just experienced, right? Like I had to understand why it was so Indiana Jones adjacent. And the other ones that I watched, the Swayze one that was boring as fuck, and the 50s one, which actually the Swayze one and the 50s one were remarkably similar. Really, both of those movies are way less adventure movies and more romance movies. Like, I would say they're a little bit of both, but like, I think they're more heavy on being romance movies. Like it's this conceit that you guys sort of touched on with the Willie Scott thing. But it's like it must be like a sort of broader conceit or an idea, right? Where you have somebody that is a sort of like an unrefined brute, right? Like somebody that is like the like unrefined brutish wilderness guy, and then you have this sort of upper society woman, and it's this like, how are they going to do this push and pull thing because they're so different, and then how are they going to fall for each other? Like, that was literally how those other two movies worked. And I think they were supposed to be adventurous because it was a safari and it was lions and tigers and blah blah blah, but some of the 50 stuff seemed really tame in terms of any of that stuff. Like, it was really, to me, I thought it was really like a romance movie, right? And then this one, the 80s one, was definitely an adventure movie. And the other thing that was crazy about it is, like, the 80s one started like in the middle of the other ones, right? Like in the other ones, he had to meet her. He had to find out that her father had been kidnapped. You saw the father being kidnapped. There was like a whole, like, there was literally like 40 minutes of movie before the two of them ever leave on the safari. Like, with the 80s one, you jump into it and it's the two of them together, almost to a fault, because there's a lot of exposition that's like not spelled out, right? And I think it was so that they could do more exciting stuff, more Indiana Jones stuff, right? That we went from a truck chase to a train chase to a plane to cannibals and them like rolling around in a big pot, right? And
oh yeah, when they made out in that big pot full of human broth, that was hot.
Yeah, and
with the lion outside just staring at him.
Just staring at him in a pot full of human broth. Yeah, this is the moment.
The cannibals,
this is the love story I buy.
The cannibals were still chasing them, and the lion is there licking his lips, and they just start going at it. Like, the lion is literally there watching them about to bone, and they seem unfazed by the danger that is right outside that pot.
And that they are in a pot of human broth.
But yeah, sorry, the Indiana Jones stuff, right? Like there was a lot of stuff in this that they literally did in Indiana Jones. The thing with the rugs, where she's rolled up in the rug, like that was in I think that was in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That was in Raiders.
They put her in a big basket, right? And he's
they
trying to find
recreated the airplane fight with the big Russian dude. They recreated that on top of the train, like basically shot for shot.
But there was some stuff that was in this movie that, to me, I associate more with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, right? The chase on the top of the train. And then like there was the thing where he's wrestling with the guy under the train and he's sticking his head out and the big boulder's coming. Like that's kind of like Indiana Jones and the
right
tank.
out of Last Crusade.
Right.
I thought the same thing. But
so
God, Last Crusade's such a better movie.
So now I'm saying to myself, are these things adventure concepts that were in serialized adventure shows or serialized adventure, like little movie clips at the beginning of the movie, that then the creators of this movie and George Lucas both were fans of, or Lucas and Spielberg, and put in Indiana Jones? Or is some of this stuff relevant to Alan Quartermain adventures and wound up in both this movie and Indiana Jones?
Or heaven forbid, what if they're not in either the 50 serials or the Alan Quartermain adventures, and Last Crusade actually stole that from this? They were like, that was a good scene. We should have done that, but better.
Well, that's...
That I'm totally into. If they were like, all right, we can do this.
Well, that thought crossed my mind as well, right? Because I'm like, Lucas and Spielberg had to see that and be like, these fuckers, they tried to copy our movie. Let's do the same thing they did, but better. Let's show them how sucky they can be.
That would crack me up if that was the way it was. But no, I definitely noticed those things too, where I thought, wow, this is very Last Crusade, but this is definitely older than Last Crusade. And I wasn't sure if it was before or after Temple of Doom, because I remember there being a couple of things that reminded me of Temple of Doom as well, but like, everything was just Indiana Jones, but worse. Like that was everything I saw in this movie was just, okay, we have this property, the King Solomon's Mine stuff, like whatever studio has this property, Indiana Jones is popular, so let's just do that. But we don't have any of the talent, but who cares? Let's just do it anyway.
Sorry, what the internet seemed to imply is that this movie is King Solomon's Mines and the second one, the Lost City, were filmed back to back, like the shoot of one rolled into the other. So what I would imagine is that probably when this was filming, Temple of Doom hadn't been released yet. This was a direct response to the popularity of Raiders, and then probably Temple of Doom came out, and then this, even though they were probably shot around the same time. And then I think that when they made this second one, when they released the second one, that they were trying to, again, like really copy the whole Indiana Jones format, right? Because like Raiders of the Lost Ark, now it's called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. But back when we were kids, it was Raiders of the Lost Ark. And this one was King Solomon's Mine, and then it's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Alan Quartermain and the Lost City of Gold, right? Like, I think they were literally trying to keep pace for pace with Indiana Jones, and they just weren't popular enough to make a trilogy or a fourth one many years later.
I'm shocked that this was popular enough to make a second one.
They didn't give themselves the chance for it to not be popular. They shot it back to back.
They shot them back to back. That's just crazy to me. That's a bold move right there.
Sean, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh no, my comment wasn't even that interesting. I was just gonna. Chris said something about the whatever studio had this, and I was just gonna point out. I'm pretty sure it's in public domain. I think the stories are really old. Like, I think like maybe the Alan Quartermain stuff goes back like 100 years now. I think it's all public domain, and that's why so many people are just pumping out.
Like direct to DVD Alan Quartermain stuff, yeah.
Right, because then nobody's paying for it. I don't think.
Yeah, it's like the late 1800s or something, or maybe the mid 1800s.
Yeah.
Glorious.
Oh, also, again, all things that went through my mind, right, was Lucas and Spielberg like, hey, we like these Quartermain things, we should do this. Oh, we can't get, we can't get that to happen. I guess there's no reason you couldn't get the rights to it if it's that old thing, but that they were like, you can't own the idea of an adventure guy. Like, let's name our guy Indiana Jones. That's a cooler name, did kind of like which idea was first and then who ruined it for the next guy was kind of what went through my head.
Yeah, gosh. And that's just the conceptual, we talked about the acting a little, but there were so many other problems with this movie that they ruined. I think they probably blighted this IP for, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years before there was another thing, right?
And that other thing wasn't all that good to be good either.
No.
I wonder why somebody hasn't properly done this yet. It doesn't seem like it's inherently flawed, but like, if you really boil it down to its basics, but like, God, according to this movie, Africa in 1985 was literally just endless tribes who want to kill white people for fun. Like, it was, and the other thing that kept popping up in my head is like every now and then I'd be reminded that the whole premise of this movie revolves around finding a giant pair of tits. Like that was actually the thing. Oh, right, we're looking for these giant boobs. I forgot.
But this wasn't set in 1985. This was set in like 1940 something. Even though the novels were in like the mid 1800s, right? Like they once again
was it set in the 40s?
Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
They're flying around on a biplane,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, 30s, 40s, 50s, something in that.
Huh.
Based on the jeeps they're driving, the train, the
right.
guns.
See, Indiana Jones had the decency to put a freaking date in the beginning. It's just like you figure it out. So I just assumed it was set around the time when the movie came out. I don't know.
Well, again,
oh right, there's Nazis floating around, so never mind. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but you know what? It's 2022. We still got Nazis floating around somehow, so that doesn't mean shit.
Valid point.
Speaking of the Nazis and the setting of this, why was John Rhys Davies, who was a Turkish guy, right? Who was an enemy of Alan Quartermain? ? Why was he paired up with the German officer? Like, why were they working together?
Unclear.
Okay, good.
If it was the 40s and this is like World War II era, this is my history falling apart here. Whose side was Turkey on? I don't even know. Maybe they were allies of the Germans. I really just don't know.
Well, in the 50s movie, there was no Germans. There was like literally, it was just like they were the in the 50s one, it wasn't her father that was missing, it was her husband. Like in the 50s one, it's Alan Quartermain and the woman and her brother that go on the safari, and the African guide, Mbutu or whatever his name is, Mbubo is his name.
Oh my god! I thought for half the movie the dude's name was Abobo because of Double Dragon. And I was like, is it really a character named Abobo? But it's called like Umboto or something like that.
Umboto, that's it. Umboto.
So I was so bummed.
But yeah, in the 50s one,
and what the hell was that guy's deal?
What, running in front of the car because he was afraid of getting on things without horses?
I don't know. Like, it was. Didn't he turn into like some other main character by the end of the movie?
Oh,
like,
he just so happens to be a king, which just came out of nowhere.
That was it.
No, no, like lead up. No, some clues, a little hint, a little foreshadowing. Nothing. Just how we got to get out of this one? Oh, it turns out he's the king of this tribe. And he can prove it because he's got a symbol on his stomach.
The whole end of the movie was a mess. The him being like that whole tribe at the end and the
crazy
mines.
Old lady, oh god.
Yeah, like it was a mess going between that tribe and the mines. Like I couldn't keep track of what was happening.
And everyone kept exploding.
Yeah.
Like every time somebody would fall down a hole or something, then it would just explode. Like everyone's walking around. I mean, true, everyone was walking around with a lot of dynamite in this movie. Everyone's just packing pockets of dynamite. Everybody's got it.
Well,
makes me want to live back in the 40s. Is that how it went? Like, just everybody had a couple sticks of dynamite on them at all times?
And I don't know a lot about dynamite, but I'm pretty sure that dynamite is like a volatile substance, like that you have to like handle it very carefully, and that
remember Arts from Lost?
Yeah. It like
Mm-hmm.
sweats nitroglycerin, and if you jostle it wrong or whatever, like you could explode. Like, yeah, he's literally got like, it seemed like he had at least 2 or 3 sticks in each pocket.
Yeah. And it wasn't just him. It was like everybody. Everybody's got it. Just like, all right, throw some dynamite over there. Just chuck some dynamite around.
And they always leave a piece behind wherever they were. Like that car that gets hit by the train. They were like, well, we're going to ditch this car on the railroad tracks. Better leave some dynamite in there. Just to give the special effect guys something to do.
Well,
speaking of special effects, and then there was a freaking
hang on,
dragon?
Stop. I have to say something about the dynamite, because at one point, he lit some dynamite, pretended to throw it at the car so that the people would jump out of it, then threw it at the car, then jumped in the car and drove away with the dynamite. And then he picked up all his friends, and they're like, what about that dynamite? And then he's like, oh, that's nothing. And then he tosses it out the back, and then it explodes. He was unfazed by this dynamite.
So we're talking about special effects now. Holy hell. At one point, not that they didn't do it in the beginning a couple times, but at some point in the movie, they were just like, F it, we're going to green screen this. And they started green screening every shot for no apparent reason. Like, literally, the shot that got me the most was there was a shot of him from like the shoulders up, upside down, being lowered into the alligator pit, right? Mm-hmm. You couldn't see the alligator pit. You could see the tribes people behind him, and you could see his shoulders and his head like upside down on your screen going down a little bit. And it was clearly green screened. But the shot before it were those same people in the same clothes, not a green screen. Like they had these actors, they had extras, they had tribesmen. It was those tribesmen. So that means, and the shot right before that, they had him tied upside down, not green screened. So then for this close-up, they were like, instead of actually just moving our camera around and getting a close-up of him, we're going to film him separately from the tribes people, and we're going to green screen it together. Like, I get using green screen for special effects and stuff, but that wasn't a special effect, and it just seemed way reshoots. More. You think it was reshoots? I don't know what, but that whole last, maybe it was reshoots, maybe that's it, because I feel like the last 20 minutes of the movie, every other shot was green screened, and half of them for no apparent reason.
They were probably like, wow, we forgot to get a lot of shots. Can we afford to get everybody back? No. Green screen.
So, Sean, I had the same thought, and I hate to keep bringing up the awful sequel, but the awful sequel was twice as bad with both dynamite and green screens.
God, you're making me want to watch this movie.
At one point, when they're at the Lost City, he's in trouble with this other tribe, and the other tribe shows up, and they want him to they want to have a contest of breaking things with your head, right? So the one tribe guy breaks a thing with his head, and then he's like, Alan, you break a thing with your head. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he like challenges the tribesman to like break this bench with his head. And the tribesman like kind of like hurts his head. And then he pretends like he's doing magic. And then he like secretly lights some dynamite under the bench and it's like, ooh, ooh, and then he like blows up the bench and everybody's impressed with him. So more dynamite tricks in the second one. And then also in the second one, same thing you were talking about with the alligators. They're all in canoes and they're going through this underground cave river thing, right? So they they have footage of the underground cave river. Like, they clearly put a camera in something and they sent it down this river, right? So, like, you're seeing all the rocks and stuff like that. Like, it's like a log flume roller coaster type thing. But then when the people are there, they're completely green screened. Like, it looked awful. It was so bad.
That's amazing.
It's just this again. I hadn't seen this since I was a kid, and it's like, I don't know. As a kid, I remember really enjoying this movie, and which kind of makes sense. Look, for if you're an 8 or 9-year-old boy, this might go into the must-watch list, because I mean, really, the plot is haphazard at best, but there's a lot of fun action sequences, I guess. And if you're not going to pick them apart, then there's probably something there, right? But it did not hold up well. It's pretty offensive, and it's just hard to watch.
Yep.
There was that sea monster at the end. That was a surprise. He didn't seem to be there the first time the guy felt like dissolved into the water, and then like another dude fell in the water, and there was a big freaking dragon in the water.
Oh, I think it was supposed to be a hippo.
No,
I think it was supposed to be a monster.
I think it was supposed to be a hippo.
Please tell me that was supposed to be a hippo, because that's amazing.
I think it was supposed to be a hippo. Hippos are actually, fun note, they kill more people every year than any other animal, if you don't count mosquitoes transmitting diseases. Hippos are the deadliest animal by far. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a hippo. They were just trying to make it look scary.
Well, you know what piqued my attention more than the hippo was the trick that they did to the bad guy that then resulted in the hippo, right? Because they're going through this King Solomon's mines and there's booby traps. So I think about Last Crusade and the booby traps in that, right? Like I think about when he's got to what is it? He's got to get across those rocks that have the letters on it, and he's got to spell Jehovah.
He said the same thing when he got to that scene with the tiles. It's like, Jehovah begins with an I.
Yeah. Great scene in Last Crusade, and then you hear Connery, talking out in the vestibule of that place. He's like, no, and what is it in Arabic?
In Latin, Jehovah begins with an I.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so good, right? And like such a good puzzle for that movie. With this thing, they're literally stepping on rocks, and they point out this one clearly marked rock with red paint, and they're like, don't step on that one.
And then a dude went and stepped on that one anyway. Like, seriously, look around you.
Even second-rate booby traps. It was so bad.
Oh, and
I'm trying to find the hippo.
God, the quicksand scene.
Oh, the quicksand scene.
It was like
there
clearly wasn't an issue going around. Nobody else had to go through the quicksand, so this was like a 10-foot square quicksand. And instead of going around, they were like, "Just kill all our own men."
Just walk across their corpses. It'll be great.
I guess that was supposed to highlight how evil those two guys were. I don't know.
I guess.
All right, I cannot tell if this is a hippo or not.
I'm trying to fast forward to it too now.
It's at 1 hour and 32 minutes.
Oh, you're not going to trick me into putting this movie back
on. Paul's like, never again. I don't give a damn if it is a hippo.
I don't care how many hippos are in this movie.
If it's a hippo, it's a freaking mutant hippo. It's got like all kinds of weird horns and stuff going on.
You said 132?
1 hour and 32 minutes and like 20 seconds.
All right. Well,
there's the idiot steps on the rock, and then you've got I don't know, man. I can see where you get hippo from, but the nose doesn't seem quite right. I think that's a sea monster.
Oh yeah. All right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a sea monster. I don't know anymore.
Maybe it's just a mutant hippo. I don't know.
Again, I hate that I keep bringing up this sequel, but I think it was a monster because in the sequel there was also monsters when they go into the passageway that leads to the Lost City. There's these like green snake monsters that look clearly like like CGI, or no, I'm sorry, not CGI, like claymation.
I was going to say like, CGI. That's
no.
Style at the time.
Yeah. No, they look like claymation little monsters. Like they don't look like snakes at all. Like they look like I don't know. It looks like something from like the claymation, like the Ray Harryhausen stuff. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Yeah.
I love the Ray Harryhausen stuff.
That's why I thought it was that's why I thought that the hippo was a monster, because I saw monsters in the other one.
Right. We've pointed out so many of the ridiculous things that have happened.
I still have more on my list.
Yeah, I mean, one or two others that are on my list, just to make sure that we touch on them quickly. Not that it's almost not worth it with this movie. It's like some of these things. It's like, yeah, he pole vaulted through lava with a wooden stick because you know how you do, just like, really, that's where I'm going to draw the line. I don't know. I did appreciate. Oh, one thing in the beginning, the Nazis, they have that car chase scene where they're shooting at them and nobody can hit anything with the guns. There's 5,000 rounds fired and nobody hits anything. One of the reasons nobody hits anything, if you watch the Nazi guy shooting his gun, it's almost like he's actively trying not to aim the gun. It's literally just like he's looking straight ahead, but he's just firing like on 45 and 90 degrees off from where he's aiming. And then at one point, like that sideways way they hold the guns now to look cool in the movies, he does the opposite way. He was trying to start a trend, but he was, instead of tilting the gun like in, he was tilting his hand out. It was the most ridiculous way to hold a gun that I've ever seen somebody on film do. And he was just like, yeah, this is how I'm going to shoot. And then, of course, the John Rhys Davies had to be killed 17 times. You gotta love that, though.
He was like on fire, right? Like, wasn't he on fire fighting him?
He was shot. He was collapsed by a bunch of rocks, or like there was a cave in or whatever. Then he was on fire. Then eventually he gets thrown into lava, which he, of course, explodes, because anybody who gets thrown anywhere near fire explodes in this movie.
Oh, when you're carrying that much dynamite in your pants.
That's fair. That's fair. You're right. You would explode.
What about the German guy that got shot in the nuts?
Oh yeah, on the train. I wrote down, totally shot that dude's dick off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure what that guy was about to do before they shot him in the dick. But
it really seemed like he was going to rape her father, right?
It was. Yeah, it definitely seemed. It was getting gross.
That was certainly an option. I think that was.
It was turning into a rape scene, and she said something about like, "I find you disgusting." After he said something like, "You're very attractive." I don't remember what he said, and she goes, "I find you disgusting." And he's like, "I wasn't talking to you." And I'm like, the only other person there is her dad. Is he about to rape her dad? Is that what the insinuation was here?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like,
I think that's what the movie was trying to tell you. I think that's what was about to happen there. That whole scene was really something. Really something.
The other thing I wrote down was the thing about the people that live upside down.
It was the next thing on my list too. What's up with the upside down people? And why did they wash their clothes?
Well, I mean, I thought that whole scene was both stupid and racist. Like, it was.
You are
really
not wrong.
Bad. But they're talking about these people, this tribe of people, that they don't like the way that the world works, so they live upside down in hope that it will change. And then Alan Quartermain was just full of like bad wisecracks. Like that was his whole bit, was like almost like dad jokes, right? Like the whole movie he's making these. And again, it's worse in the sequel. Like he's almost more tolerable in this first one. But she goes, "Oh, how sad for them. They live upside down." And he goes, "Must be hell to keep change in your pockets." And like my first thought was like, must be awful to take a dump.
Wouldn't they just die? Like, don't you die if you stay upside down long enough? Like, at a certain point, doesn't your brain just overflow with blood or something? Like, I feel like gravity's really going to take its toll.
I'm pretty sure that is a form of torture, like just that you're turned upside down.
I want to believe that scene comes from like when I watched it, I was like, that's got to be like there had to be a reference to this in the old books or something, and they were trying to bring the book to life, and like it just doesn't pan out in the long run. I don't know. I don't know. That was my half-assed defense of whatever they did there. It wasn't a great plan. And I'm not sure that it progressed the plot at all either. I'm not sure why that happened. Just added texture to the African adventure.
Yeah, everything about this movie, actually, everything about this movie was really an experience. And it's experience I'm glad I had. It was a fascinating experience and has clearly been a lot of fun to talk about. But it was bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't recommend this to anyone in good conscience, unless again, maybe if you're a 10-year-old boy, you watch Indiana Jones, you really love it, and you want more. Sure. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I went down a rabbit hole because I was very interested in how this all came to be, but I would never do it again, and I didn't enjoy any bit of it. But it has been an interesting conversation. I do have to say that.
And we're all saying this now, but next year when they announce that there's going to be a big budget Alan Quartermain movie coming out, we're all going to go see it.
God, yes. If they make a big budget King Solomon's Mine movie, I'm in.
I'm thinking starring The Rock, right? I mean, clearly that's the only way to go from here.
Well,
yeah, The Rock. I could see The Rock. I could see Chris Evans.
Oh yeah, Chris Evans. Yeah. Sure.
Or what's Chris Pratt? Actually, I think he would be.
You know what? You said Chris Evans, and I pictured Chris Pratt because I'm not great with actors' names, and now I realize that I was mistaking Captain America for Star-Lord.
Star-Lord, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
That's the better one.
Who's also now both the voice of Mario in the new Mario movie and the voice of Garfield in an upcoming Garfield movie.
Bill Murray's already declared that a mistake. Why would anyone follow suit?
Let's just put Chris Pratt and Chris Evans and Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth
O'Donnell.
Yeah, and we'll just have them all. They could all be Alan Quartermain. Different versions of them.
And we didn't even talk about Sean Connery.
What about Sean Connery?
He played Alan Quartermain in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, I didn't see that movie.
Oh, yeah, I've never seen that either. I didn't realize that's who his character was.
Yeah,
wow.
Alan Quartermain.
There was a joke I really wanted to play on you guys, and I guess I kind of forgot. I regularly do that bit where I pretend that I watched a completely different movie, although this time I did actually watch 3 completely different movies. But I wanted to try to pretend that I had seen this movie long ago and that we all grew up with Alan Quartermain. Basically I was going to try to convince you guys that last week when we picked our movies and I made that crack about Chris wanting to pick Kangaroo Jack because he didn't get to pick a Jerry O'Connell movie where he talked to CGI creatures like Joe's Apartment, and that he was going to pick Kangaroo Jack. I was going to try to convince you guys that by suggesting a Jerry O'Connell movie and a John Rhys Davies movies, that we actually became sliders and that you guys went into a parallel dimension where there was no Indiana Jones, there was Alan Quartermain, and I was going to go like, yeah, remember all the great Alan Quartermain movies we used to watch? This great trilogy, and then they brought it back years later with Alan Quartermain and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, and I was going to just see how long I could go pretending that I was from a different Earth that you slid into.
And I don't hate Crystal Skull, but boy, that movie seems a lot better after watching this one.
I didn't hate Crystal Skull nearly as much as like I think it got a harsher deal than it deserved. It wasn't as
Agreed.
good as the first three, but people were like, "Oh, it's ridiculous. There's aliens. There's this." I'm like, really watch those first couple. They're ridiculous. It's not ridiculous stuff.
Kind of their
Happening.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought everyone was a little harsh on it.
I completely agree. I mean, I personally like it more than Temple of Doom, not by much, but it's right around that level for me.
I think Indiana Jones is at its strongest when he is searching for Judeo-Christian artifacts and where the Nazis are the bad guys. I think that's what's so great about Last Crusade is that they brought back all the stuff that worked from Raiders.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about this movie is they're killing Nazis.
Is that what's so great about it?
Even the music, it was like, let's make Indiana Jones-esque music. It won't be the same notes.
Oh, the soundtrack was such a ripoff.
Yeah, a couple of the early songs, I was like, I think they crossed the line. What is it? You get 7 notes in a row, and then it's the same song. I was like, I think they passed that. I think this is Indiana Jones music.
It was also constant. Like, the score did not let the movie breathe at all. Not that the movie needed to breathe. It was a mess, but, like, it was like he would do one adventurous thing, and it would be like, da-da-da-da-da! And then, like every single thing he did was underscored. It was like he had his own band behind him.
Oh, glorious! Absolutely glorious.
The other thing I wrote down at the end of this movie that I had to laugh about was there was that whole, you guys brought it up, the whole thing with the, what was it, Mbobo, and that he's really the king of that tribe.
Oh, right.
I think so. That was a thing that was in the other 2 movies, like, that I watched. Like, that is definitely a part of the story of King Solomon's mind. That, like, in each of the other ones I watched, Mbobo wasn't with them from the beginning. They picked him up along the way, and it was, like, curious that he wanted to go to these King Solomon mines. And so, like, it was set up a little better, right? That, like, he was actually the secret king of this tribe that tried to get rid of him or whatever. But he says, he says the thing about the diamonds. He's like, you can't have the diamonds. The diamonds belong to the mountain. And then they leave and they're like, surprise, I had a diamond. And she's like, I had a diamond too. And then she says, I didn't want you to go through all this work for nothing. And then he doesn't say anything and they kiss. And it's like, well, like, that would have been the perfect opportunity to be like, I didn't go through it for nothing. Like, I did it for you, But he's just like, yeah, thanks for the diamond, babe. like Alan Quarterman was so not smooth.
And I did not buy those 2 at all. Like, at all. Did not buy them in the least. As, like, when she said she loved him, Karen and I both looked like, why? When? What? No.
I liked how he would drop in from somewhere and she would go, Quartermain. Well, let me tell you, Chris, if you didn't buy them in this movie, watch the sequel and you'll buy them even less.
Oh boy. Well, that's I think the only other note that I had was I wrote, watching this guy eat rocks is really something.
Oh, the German guy eating the diamonds?
Yeah, that was that kept going.
They just kept down that.
It did. They really pushed that.
Like, no, eat more. Eat another. Have some more. Like, we got it.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. Just keep rolling film.
Somebody, and then they were doing the thing, they kind of overdid the thing with the whips in the other scene. I think somebody in this movie was pushing himself towards that early. You got that, what do they call it? The torture porn movies that they make now, like the Saws and stuff. Somebody working on this wanted to go down that road. They were like, let's really draw out these torture scenes. Really, just keep going.
Draw out
boxed
the
them in a
torture
little because it was 1985, but
draw out the torture scenes. Shoot a German guy in the dick.
Right?
Cover all your bases.
How many whips did they break on that old guy? Like 4 or 5 whips they broke on him. Because then they started making a joke about it. You broke another whip. Why do you keep showing us these scenes where you're whipping this guy?
So wasn't there a joke like right in the beginning where all this nasty stuff was happening and it was John Rhys Davies was like, my table! Like they busted his table and he was upset about that instead of all the death and carnage.
Oh yeah, that was not John Rhys Davies. That was the. I mean, I don't know who that character was. He wasn't around long enough to care about, and he blew up.
He was the first character to blow up. That's his claim to fame.
He made that joke 3 times. There was that first scene where her father's assistant got killed by a booby trap. It was like a big spiky thing that came down from the ceiling and slammed him into the door. And the guy
at that point, I really thought I was going to like this movie.
Yeah, he goes, my door! You know, like, he doesn't even say anything about the guy. He's like, my door! And then, oddly enough, the door is unscathed in the next scene. And then, there was he Quartermain fell in and he landed on the table and he goes, my table! And then at another point, somebody breaks a statue and he's like, my statue! So, like, that guy's whole joke was that he didn't care about any of the people, just all the stuff in his weird little shop.
Right. Yeah, they tried to push some of the jokes. It wasn't a funny movie.
And I guess also that guy was a scam artist, that he had like wrapped up he had like mummified a cat and pretended it was a baby mummy, or that like he mummified that dude that died, and they found, you know, that guy in the sarcophagus. Like, you know, the guy was kind of, so it was weird. It's a weird road to go down, certainly. Weird character.
Well, I'm tapped out.
Yeah. It's been tapped out. It's done.
Yeah, I've got nothing more I want to visit with this.
Well, thanks, Sean.
I'm not thanking you.
Yeah, this is why it's probably best that my votes don't get. We should keep my picks to like 1 every 10. I think might keep our audience with us.
No, this was a good pick for the podcast. It was a good conversation. I just never want to be subjected to this movie.
I just never want to see it again. Take it away.
Pick them away, toys. All right, we have it's time for us to vote on the next episode, right?
It is.
All right, so we're on the letter L. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first because I don't think I have an amazing one. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. It's not very old. I only saw it once. I think I really liked it, but every now and then with a comedy, like, I don't know, you really got to revisit a comedy at least once. I remember enjoying it. Land of the Lost came out like 2010. I'm gonna guess.
Is that the Rock one?
No, it's got Will Ferrell and like Danny McBride.
Oh, right, yeah.
If I like Will Ferrell. I'm a big Will Ferrell fan. I like almost everything he's in. He's done a couple things I didn't like, but in large part, he cracks me up. And I only saw this once. I think I really liked it. And I did do a quick search. I didn't test it out, but I did a quick search. It apparently is free on Tubi, Tubi.
Which is different from Quibi.
Different than Quibi.
Kubo,
but if you have a smart TV or a
watched.
Roku, Tubi's a free channel, and
got it.
Should be able to watch it there. It's also on Amazon, but when it says it's on Amazon, I never know if you have to pay for that.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I went through a couple thoughts for L. I think I was looking at some newer stuff, and I ultimately decided against it. I think I was looking at some older stuff that might have been cringeworthy because it was like not really PC anymore. Like one of the thoughts I had was that Rodney Dangerfield movie called Ladybugs, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm pretty sure."
Oh, wow!
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure we're gonna cringe at that.
I never saw that, but that was a kids movie. You think that's? Did you guys see it? Is it that cringe?
It was about a boy dressing up as a girl to be on a girls soccer team.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like a Bad News Bears thing where he was like coaching a girls soccer team.
So I ultimately decided against that because I think that the episode would take a turn for, bashing some of the things we probably would have problems with about the movie. So I picked a different thing that I know that I have not seen. I am certain I haven't seen it. And this might be cringeworthy because of the technology that's used. But this seems like it was a movie that everybody was talking about at one point, and I was like, have I seen this movie? And then I looked at the trailer and I was like, I definitely haven't seen this movie. So my pick's going to be that movie called Lawnmower Man.
Oh. I remember Lawnmower Man. An Alan Kiefer favorite.
Also haven't seen that movie.
I've seen it, but it's been a long time.
It looks a little silly as far as the virtual reality. But I know it was a one of those like culturally relevant things that I should have seen.
Yeah,
and I haven't. So
is that Stephen King? I think it's Stephen King.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah. No, I again, I only saw it once a long time ago. I think it's all right. You're right that I'm sure the special effects haven't aged super well, but I'll bet other than that, it's not bad. That's my guess.
Okay.
Having not seen it when did that come out? Like early 90s, maybe?
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess similarly, I'll go for another all-time classic movie that I've never seen. I've never seen Labyrinth.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that's a good movie, man.
Yeah. So I've heard. Never seen it, which is crazy to me because I used to have a huge crush on Jennifer Connelly. So
that's right up there. That's like, what was that? That's mid 80s. Mid 80s had 5 or 6 great fantasy movies like right in a row. It was like Legend, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Never Ending Story. It was just a good time for fantasy movies.
Labyrinth has a bunch of Jim Henson creations in it.
Yeah.
And David Bowie.
Yep.
Doesn't get
one of those movies. That's one of those movies even I can't believe I've never seen. But
isn't your mom like a big David Bowie fan?
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know where I got that from then. She's gonna listen to this podcast and be like, "What are you talking about, Paul?"
All right. Well, let's hop on our text chain and vote.
Oh wait. Okay.
So I just looked it up real quick. Labyrinth's on Hulu apparently. I was in the process of looking up the other one, but I tried to use my computer and that doesn't go well. I don't want to talk about it.
I figured I would look that up once we made our decision, but
all right. Here we go. So we've got Lawnmower Man, Labyrinth, or
Land of the Lost, the 2010 version. All right, everybody ready?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1, fight.
Yeah. Okay.
Lawnmower Man it is.
Wow. All right.
You should watch Labyrinth anyway, man. I know I voted for Lawnmower Man, but I'm just saying, you should watch Labyrinth. It's a good movie. Your kids would like it. It's a kid movie. I mean, it's a 1980s kids movie, which in retrospect are pretty inappropriate across the board. Like all kids movies from the 1980s are just inappropriate for children. But it's a kids movie.
Yeah, but I don't think Labyrinth is. I mean, like, it's no Monster Squad.
Wolfman's Got Nards? Well, I don't even remember what was inappropriate about Monster Squad.
Oh my god, there's so much.
Did you watch that Cloak and Dagger? We watched that Cloak and Dagger movie, right? Like, they just you should kill him, Billy. Go ahead, kill him. Like, it's super inappropriate. And then he does, and he's like, I feel bad about killing that man. Nope, we gotta move on. This is weird. I don't think this is good for kids.
I guess with all those movies, my main thought is, where were the parents? Where were your parents?
Doing coke. Just off somewhere, doing coke.
It was the 80s.
I'm trying to remember what was inappropriate about Labyrinth, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure you have a pretty good view of David Bowie's bulge, like the entire movie.
That's true,
right? Like, I mean, it's prominent.
There might just be some like kind of frightening imagery with the puppets and stuff at the beginning. I feel like at the beginning there's a lot of like sort of creepy puppets when they like right before they go into that world. But
you know, now that we've talked about David Bowie's bulge, do you see that other puppet's penis when he's peeing on that fairy? Doesn't he pee on that fairy when she first meets that other puppet? He's definitely peeing. I think he's peeing on somebody. And you might see his penis. You know what I'm talking about, right? Hoggle? her little buddy, he like betrays her at one point. But when she first finds him, he's got it whipped out and he's taking a leak, and I think he's like peeing on some like fairy or a worm or something on the ground.
Oh, I remember the worm. He's peeing on the worm?
God, I know he's peeing when she finds him. I don't remember if you could see his puppet penis, and I think he's peeing on something. I think it's offensive.
Because she meets that worm when she first gets there, and she's like, the worm's like, hello, and she's like,
oh, right, no. He's not peeing on him. Or he's killing fairies. Is he killing? He's definitely, I don't know.
We should watch it.
We should watch Labyrinth just for shits and giggles. But we are going to dissect and assess Lawnmower Man.
Yeah.
I think I'll hold off on Labyrinth until we get to L again. All right, so Lawnmower Man, according to the internet, is available on HBO Max with subscription, or is available to rent or buy from Amazon Prime Video.
All right.
Great. I won't have a hard time with this one.
Sweet. All right. Well, there you have it. That's our pick, Lawnmower Man. And that is going to wrap it up for us. A theater near you is a part of the Geekade Podcast Network, and if you'd like to get in touch with us to share your comments, movie suggestions, or whatever, you can send us an email at mail@geekade.com. We can also be found on most social media outlets and the official Geekade Discord server, all of which can be found in our show notes. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time in a theater near you.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun.